The galaxy had written them off. The Xynari, once a proud and advanced civilization, were now a dying species. Their sun, a once bright star in the Orion Arm, had begun its rapid descent into a catastrophic supernova. The Xynari had tried everything: evacuation plans, stellar engineering, even desperate pleas to neighboring star systems. But no one came. No one, except humanity. When the first distress signals reached Earth, the Galactic Council had already dismissed the Xynari as a lost cause. Their star will explode in less than a decade, the Council declared. No species can save them. It's a waste of resources. But humanity, ever the outlier in galactic politics, disagreed. To the Xynari's surprise, a small fleet of human ships arrived at their homeworld, Xynara, within months of the distress call. The Xynari were a fragile species, their slender crystalline bodies adapted to a low-gravity environment. Their cities, towering spires of iridescent glass, shimmered under the dimming light of their dying sun. They had long since accepted their fate, but the arrival of the humans sparked a faint glimmer of hope, a hope they had buried deep within their collective consciousness. Captain Elena Vasquez, commander of the human rescue mission, stood on the bridge of the Elysium, gazing at the Xynari homeworld through the viewport. The planet's surface was a mosaic of glowing cities and vast barren wastelands, the result of centuries of environmental collapse. Beside her stood Xinthar, the Xynari's chief scientist, his crystalline form reflecting the dim light of the bridge. "Why did you come?" Xinthar asked, his voice a soft, melodic hum. "The Galactic Council abandoned us. Even our closest allies turned their backs. Why would humanity, a species so new to the stars, risk so much for a race you barely know?" Elena turned to him, her expression resolute. "Because we've been where you are," she said. "Earth wasn't always the paradise it is now. We've faced extinction-level events before: wars, plagues, climate disasters. We survived because others helped us when we needed it most. We don't turn our backs on those in need. That's not who we are." The Xynari had no concept of such altruism. In their culture, survival was a matter of practicality. Resources were finite, and sacrifices were often necessary for the greater good. But humanity's actions defied their understanding. The humans had brought with them not only ships and supplies, but also a determination that seemed almost irrational. Over the next few years, humanity worked tirelessly alongside the Xynari. Engineers from both species collaborated to build massive evacuation arcs, capable of transporting millions of Xynari to safety. Biologists worked to adapt the Xynari's fragile bodies to the conditions of potential new homeworlds. And while the Galactic Council scoffed at the effort, humanity pressed on. The work was grueling. The Xynari's sun grew increasingly unstable, its violent flares threatening the evacuation fleet. Supplies ran low, and tensions mounted. But through it all, humanity remained. They shared their food, their resources, and even their stories. The Xynari, who had never known such camaraderie, found themselves inspired by the humans' resilience. One day, as the final evacuation arcs were being prepared, a massive solar flare erupted from the Xynari sun. The Elysium's alarms blared as the flare's radiation washed over the ship. Elena gripped the console, her knuckles white. "We're out of time," she muttered. "Xinthar, we need to get your people on those arcs now." Xinthar hesitated. "There are still thousands in the southern cities. We can't leave them behind." Elena's jaw tightened. "We won't. But we'll need to buy them more time." She turned to her crew. "Prepare the Elysium for a solar dive. We're going to use the ship's shields to absorb the next flare and give the southern cities a few more hours." The crew stared at her in disbelief. "Captain, that's suicide," one of them said. "The shields won't hold. The radiation will fry the ship's systems and us with it." Elena's gaze didn't waver. "I didn't come here to leave anyone behind. If we don't do this, those people will die. And that's not an option." The crew exchanged glances, then nodded. They had signed up for this mission knowing the risks. They were humanity's best, and they would see it through. As the Elysium positioned itself between the sun and the planet, the next flare erupted. The ship's shields absorbed the brunt of the radiation, but the strain was immense. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered. Elena gripped the console, her vision blurring as the radiation seeped through the weakening shields. On the surface, the Zainari watched in awe as the human ship held the line. For the first time in generations, they felt something they had long forgotten: hope. The southern cities were evacuated in record time, and the Orcs launched just as the Elysium's shields failed. The ship was lost, but its sacrifice saved millions. The Zainari, now safely aboard the Orcs, looked back at their dying world with a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. They had been abandoned by the galaxy, but humanity had stayed. Humanity had given them a future. Years later, on a new world, the Zainari thrived. Their cities rose once more, their crystalline spires gleaming under the light of a new sun. And in the center of their capital stood a monument, a statue of the Elysium, its hull cracked and scorched, but its spirit unbroken. Beneath it were inscribed the words, "Everyone abandoned us, but humanity remained." The Zainari never forgot, and neither did the galaxy.